Okay, good evening. I'd like to call to order the Town of Delafield Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, February 14th, 2023. If you'd all rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Green, would you do a roll call, please?
Supervisors Miller,
Present.
Kranek,
Present.
Wolfley,
Present.
Michaels,
Present.
Chairman Troy.
Present.
Thank you.
Citizens' comments. Terry, do you want to make a comment?
No, I'm just getting educated and.
Oh, that's fine.
Actually be calling y'all and talking to you one-on-one, but right now,
Okay.
yeah, just here.
There are no residents or citizens in the gallery to make comments. Approval of the minutes of the January 24th, 2022 Town Board meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the January 24th, 2022 meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
It would be 2023.
2023.
Oh, you should. I'm just reading what's in front of me. Correction noted. Thank you. Action on vouchers submitted for payment. Report on sub-accounts and actions to amend. There are none for either the 2022 or the 2023 budget. So accounts payable and payroll.
Accounts payable, motion to approve payments of checks 66380 through 66400 and 66403 through 66476 in the amount of $1,427,080.82. And per payroll, motion to approve the payrolls dated February 3rd in the amount of $17,705.08. And for payrolls dated February 17th, 2023 in the amount of $16,351.64.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the accounts payable and payroll checks as submitted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I believe we have a communication from Supervisor Kranek.
I just want to advise everybody that there's a listening session on Wednesday, the 22nd of February in the town of Merton over in North Lake with our state representative Duco and state senator Mr. Capenga. I think it would be important to go and share why we need some help with our fire and EMS.
Okay, good. What's the time on that?
7 to 8 o'clock.
7, 8 o'clock. Great. Do you want us to list that on the website?
Yeah.
Dan?
Yeah, that's just the town of Merton, like, town hall, or is that?
Yeah,
at a
town
school?
Merton Town
Okay.
Hall.
Yeah.
If we're gonna do it at a school or not, so.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Ed. Item 8, unfinished business, discussion and possible action on the adoption of ordinance 2023-02, an ordinance to repeal and recreate portions of section 10.11 of the municipal code concerning residency restrictions for sex offenders. This topic was tabled on 124, so we need a motion to remove it from the table.
Motion to remove from the table.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to remove the topic from the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is now on the table. And I believe Dan's going to handle.
Sure. So I sent out an updated version of this ordinance from our attorney. The major changes that he brought forward was regarding the appeals board that was referenced before as a citizen member body appointed by the chairman. He made the change to have this body be that appeals board, which we thought was pertinent and more relevant and better for you guys to have that control. The other change, which it remains the same, is there are a few changes regarding Section E, which was removed, and those listed out all of the different offenses. Instead, we just reference the state statute regarding these offenses because they can change, and we, instead of updating our code every time the state statute changes, we just reflect that. The other change is regarding the domicile restriction, and that is on page 4. And you can see some changes. The biggest change being that last sentence in that top paragraph: the original domicile restriction shall apply to sex offenders whose applicable crimes or offenses were committed after, and that date is January 11th, 2011, when the original ordinance was adopted. This, and Ron, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but came through a Supreme Court ruling. I believe it was in a local municipality near us, where initially these ordinances that were adopted were not looked at as retroactive. They were looked at as, from that date going forward, but was later ruled that these ordinances were reflecting that of being retroactive and thought unfairly by the Supreme Court. So we are establishing that date of January 11th as the effective date for the domicile restriction. This was recommended by our attorney, and we're just trying to get ahead of the game to make sure that we don't run into an issue if this does come to us in the future.
Okay, this brings us into compliance with the state statute and the recent, 5-year-old six-year-old Supreme Court ruling. Any questions or comments?
One thing on page 5, or 3, written copy of the decision shall be provided to the sex offender and the Town of Delafield Police Department. We don't have a Town of Delafield Police Department. Should that be
The Sheriff's Department?
Sheriff's Department, or, how do we want to correct that?
I think it would be pertinent to keep it as it is because Waukesha County is our police department as it is. We're just contracting with them, but we have had our own constable in the past, and I can't say in the future what will happen. So I think either way it references the police, whether it's contracted or owned by the town.
Okay, I just wanted clarity on that it references both, right? Like it's making
Yeah.
sure that there's not a either a better way or a different way to say that. Obviously they've if the Supreme Court's decided that this can be instituted retroactively and they're looking for a date, is it something that, do we have to choose the date that we enacted it then?
Well, it's not an arbitrary date. It's a specific date that covers us by law.
Well, that's
So
what I'm saying,
it's-
so.
It is the date we, according to the Supreme Court ruling.
Right,
It
okay.
is that date.
Okay, and so what, all they're asking to do is to insert the date that it started, right?
It's like in 2011.
Right, January 11th of 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess where I was going with that was asking is if you can, if it's,
You can't go past,
you can't go beyond
earlier.
that.
Yeah. We could,
You don't want to move it forward.
well, but that's the general concept. You could always be different from the state, but you can't be more strict. Well, you can't go back to like 2000, but you could go to 215, but we don't want to do that. We
Right,
wanna
right,
stay-
right. No, I was,
Yeah.
Right.
But we're bound by law not to do that.
sure. Okay, that was what I was looking for clarity on, is if it's, they're asking to determine a date or use that date or not, so obviously.
We're being as restrictive as possible with staying within the
Oh,
the
yeah.
state law.
Absolutely. Which is what we want.
Right. No, well, because if we could, I was gonna put like 1950 on it, right?
Put 1840.
Right. So.
The founding of the town.
That's where I was trying to get some clarity on if we can move it back or.
Well, and court decisions say we can't do that, so.
Right.
I mean, all
Yep.
we're doing is we're bringing this into compliance with Supreme Court decisions and state law.
Sure, to not get sued. Right, I'm
Well,
just,
to make sure that we keep it, you know, and protect ourselves, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for you know, the reason the ordinance was written, so.
yeah, of course. Again, the way that this came out with the clerk to insert date was
Yeah,
worth
he
an
just
ask.
didn't know what date specifically we adopted, so
Yeah.
I filled in that date.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, do we have an official petition form yet, or is that to come?
We'll be drafting that after this is adopted, and I'll get that back to the board for approval.
Okay.
Next meeting?
Yeah, in March.
Okay. If we're done, Chair would request a motion.
Motion to adopt the ordinance number 2023-02, an ordinance repealing and recreating portions of section 10.11 of the municipal code concerning residency restrictions for the town, for sex offenders.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the repeal and recreate portions of section 1011 of the municipal code. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Move on to 9A, discussion and possible action on the approval and authorization of an application and resolution to the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands, State of Wisconsin, for a $250,000 loan to finance a portion of the roadway improvement project as outlined in the 2023 budget. Dan, you want to give a quick overview?
Yeah, sure. Well, just as Ron ended there, this was outlined in the 2023 budget for our debt service for borrowing for roads. We've done it every year for now, this is the third year. We plan on continuing to do a 5-year borrowing cycle at $250,000 to continue to fund our roads. I think we're doing a good job the past 3 years in keeping that at a healthy budget. And, you know, some years we've come under budget for road projects to help us to carry funds over to continue to do more. So I think we're doing the right thing in continuing to fund road projects this way. And it keeps our roads safe and up to date, so.
Any discussion on the, or
Is
questions?
the 5.2% a different rate than it's been in the past?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gone up.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
gone
yeah.
up.
Sure.
What is the rate tied to on an annual basis?
I think it's fixed for 5 years.
I
I don't
didn't-
recall.
How does the
You
Board
mean-
of Public Lands decide what the rate is each year? I would imagine they have a formula that they
I'm
use.
sure they have a formula. I can get that, I can email
It's
that
okay.
information
It's
to
okay.
you.
If
And
you
it's
knew
on
I
their
was
website too,
Yeah.
if you go to it, but.
But it's a competitive
It is
rate, because they have a
competitive, yeah.
fiduciary responsibility also to their,
Yeah, no,
it's still a pretty good rate given
Yeah.
everything else, so.
it's higher though.
Any other comments? If not, we're required to have sections of page 4 read into the record, and I've requested Supervisor Michaels to read from the second paragraph of page 4 to the end of page 4 into the record.
By the provisions of Chapter 24 of the Wisconsin statutes, the Board of the Commissioners of Public Lands of Wisconsin is authorized to make loans from the state trust funds to municipalities for such purposes. Municipalities, as defined by Section 2462 of the Wisconsin statutes, means a town, village, city, county public inland lake protection and rehabilitation district, town sanitary district created under Section 6071 or 6072, metropolitan sewage district created under Section 20005 or 223, joint sewage system created under Section 281-43-4, school district or technical college district. Therefore, it be resolved that the town of Delafield in the counties of Waukesha, Wisconsin, borrow from the trust fund of the state of Wisconsin the sum of $250,000 for the purpose of financing road work and for no other purpose. The loan is to be payable within 5 years from the 15th day of March preceding the date the loan is made. The loan will be repaid in annual installments with interest at the rate of 5.25% per annum from the date of making the loan to the 15th day of March next, and therefore thereafter annually as provided by law. Resolved further that there shall be raised and there is levied upon all taxable property within the town of Delafield in the county of Waukesha, Wisconsin, a direct annual tax for the purpose of paying interest and principal on the loan as they become due. Resolved further that no money obtained by the town of Delafield by such loan from the state be applied or paid out for any purpose except financing road work without the consent of the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands. Resolved further that in case the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands of Wisconsin agrees to make the loan, that the chairman and clerk of the town of Delafield and the county of Waukesha, Wisconsin are authorized and empowered in the name of the town to execute and deliver to the commission certificates of indebtedness in such form as required by the commission for any sum of money that may be loaned to the town pursuant to this resolution. The chairman and clerk of the town will perform all necessary actions to fully carry out provisions of Chapter 24 Wisconsin statutes and these resolutions. Resolve further that this preamble and these resolutions and the aye and no vote by which they were adopted be recorded, and that the clerk of this town forward this certificate record along with the application for the loan to the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands of Wisconsin.
Thank you. Are there any questions on what was read? If not, we call for a motion to accept and approve the,
I'd like to just make a real quick comment on the interest rate. The interest rates, yeah, for borrowing are going up, but we're also getting a big interest rate return on through our LGIP account of right now it's at 4.2%. So the difference between the 3% we borrowed last year when we were getting 0.02% to the interest rate differential now is much larger. So we're actually making.
tell them what happened in
good.
January.
Yeah, in January, we surpassed the budget that I had made for 2023 in interest by $1,000. So I had, budgeted 39,000, we made 40, and we're just going to continue to see dividends on that. So see how long that lasts, but for now, it's great.
Yeah.
So I make a motion to adopt the resolution that Supervisor Michaels just read into the record.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the authorization of an application to the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you. Discussion and possible action on the recommendation from the Plan Commission to approve a certified survey map for Tim and Anna Trotter to combine two lots into one at N20 W29592 Glen Cove Road. Tim.
All right, this property is located, as Chairman Troyce indicated, on Glen Cove, actually on East Glen Cove Road. That'd be east of Glen Cove Road and north of the bike trail. Currently, it's two individual lots that were platted, and they have a house on it. The house straddles the center lot line, or the common lot line between the two lots. This certified survey map combines the two lots, and eventually they're going to take down the house and rebuild the house on that particular lot. Both the town and the county's comments have been incorporated into a more recent survey. And I haven't heard from the city of Delafield. They would have extraterritorial, but I don't anticipate any issues with that. Plan Commission made a recommendation to approve unanimously last week, and therefore I just recommend approval of the CSM, subject to any and all comments being incorporated from the town, city, and Waukesha County before we execute the document.
Thank you. And this was unanimously approved by the Planning Commission.
Yes.
Any questions for Tim? It's pretty straightforward.
Move to approve the CSM dated October 10th, 2022, subject to satisfaction of all outstanding review comments from the town, city of Delafield, and Waukesha County Department of Parks and Land Use prior to town executing the document.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the certified survey map contingent upon the items stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving to 9C, discussion and possible action on the adoption of ordinance 2023-05, an ordinance to repeal and recreate Section 9.14 Sub 5 of the Town Code concerning the regulation of vacation rentals. Mr. Barrow.
All right, in your packet, you should have received a letter from Attorney Larson dated November 1st, 2017. That seems like a long time ago, and it was. When that initially came in, and that was to deal with our vacation rental code, the plan commission, or the board, it came to the board on November 14th of 2017, and it was referred to the plan commission on February 6th of 2018. It went to the plan commission and passed 6-0 with one abstention. It never got to the town board after that. Don't know why, but it just never got there. Last year, I was working in another community, and they were talking about this particular state statute change, and as I was looking at our code, I realized that we never passed this, it never got into our code, and so that's what we are doing now. We're trying to incorporate the changes that were recommended by the attorney in 2017 into our code. Some of the key features of this is that we are going to prohibit short-term rentals for 6 days and less. So anybody that's going to be renting short-term rental would have to rent for 7 days up to 29 days. Anything over 29 is not considered a short-term rental in the state's eyes. Second item is if it's over the 7 days, once you start, let's just say someone starts renting on April 1st, they get 180 consecutive days. The town can increase that amount of days for consecutive rentals. When I mean consecutive, that means you don't have to rent it all those days. You have 100 days to do all your rentals then, within that time period, whether it be weekly or more than that. But that's the time frame where you can just rent your property as a short-term rental, we'll say. 180 days is the minimum, but each community can decide if they want to allow more. For example, if the town or some community wanted to allow 365 days of short-term rentals, seven days or more, they could put that number into the code. We have the most restrictive allowance of what the state statutes allow.
We mirror the state.
We mirror that on
Yeah,
that.
the state has 180
They-
days.
They give us the least amount right,
We're mirroring the most restrictive option the state gives us.
Right, the most
Yeah.
restrictive is what we're mirroring, but the state allows you the 180 to 365. They don't really dictate, but we're looking at the most restrictive. The third item that's of importance is that we do have a local license that's required. We had that even prior to the state law allowing that. That will still be in place. There's a number of conditions associated with that license. And we have placed those conditions on the application. So when someone comes in for a short-term vacation rental, they see those conditions and they have to meet those conditions. Every February, we're supposed to have an annual review of vacation rentals. We have 2 vacation rentals out there right now, one on Maple and one on Oakwood Grove Road. We're going to be sending them a letter to ask them to respond to all the conditions to make sure they are complying with the conditions. We have not heard any complaints about those. And they were approved under the old code that we had. However, they will have to meet the minimum requirements of the state code on that. So this is in section 9.14, which is this really just, all this requires is the town board action. It doesn't really require plan commission action. Last week, I took it to the plan commission just for informational purposes. The plan commission originally created the vacation rental code, and they were dealing with some of the complaints at that time. That was more in, I think at that time we talked about, that was in chapter 17, the zoning code. The original one way back was in chapter 17, and so they didn't, other than a few comments and clarifications, there was no real vote on that, but there's no objection to moving this forward to the board. So I can answer any questions. Otherwise, the recommendation is to adopt this and get this in order so we're meeting the state requirements.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, we had a vacation rental code long before the state decided to jump in and take the authority away from us. And all we're doing is we're just, again, being in compliance with the state statute.
So just for clarity, right? Essentially, say you started a 6-day rental March 1st. They've got until essentially September 1st, and then they're done
Then
again
they're
until
done.
March 1st.
Then they're done, correct.
Okay. And then as far as enforcement and like tracking of this, I mean, obviously it says that this is when they have to notify us of the 365 day that it starts.
Yep.
And so we'll be able to, once they notify us, that's assuming that, hey, it starts today, I'm starting my first rental today. Then are we planning on sending them a notice like September 1st, say, hey, you've hit your 180 days, please suspend?
We haven't really talked about that, but I guess we'd put a tickler in our calendar to say, yep, this is the time that we should be evaluating them. The other option is, at the time, like I say, in February, our license says they have to renew in February, so we can remind them in February, once again, if they're in the midst of it, or if they're out of compliance, then we have to get them back into compliance. But we'll have a review in February, and that's a chance, if we think that there's problems with that vacation rental, short-term vacation rental, problems, complaints, we can deny the license.
Sure.
So that's our chance to, just like a liquor license somewhat, if we can say, no, we're not going to renew your license because of, we'll probably have to have just cause for doing that, but that's what we
And out of
would do in
ordinance,
that
or
evaluation.
out of compliance with the ordinance would
Yeah.
satisfy that, obviously.
Yes.
And ideally, we would have an idea of what their time frame is when they apply. These are vacation rentals, so
Right.
I usually, it's going to be spring,
Bless you.
summer, part of fall. But we can request that information on the application if they have an idea of the range that they're looking at.
Are renewals intended to be approved by the town board?
They will come to the town board, yep. Probably in 2 weeks.
Yeah, they do not have to go to the planning commission. They just come directly here.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Motion to adopt ordinance 2023-05, an ordinance to repeal and recreate sections 9.145 of the town code concerning the regulation of vacation rentals in the town of Delafield.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt and repeal and create section 9.145 sub 5 of the town code regarding regulation of vacation rentals. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. 9D, discussion and possible action on the adoption of ordinance 2023-06, an ordinance to repeal and recreate section 17.087.b of the town code concerning the procedure for the issuance of sign permits. Again, Mr. Barbeau.
All right, so this is pretty simple. Right now, the Plan Commission is required to approve all signs that come into the town. And so staff has kind of talked about this, and because we can only regulate basically size, location, and lighting, and a few other minor things, instead of having it come to the Plan Commission, we felt that the staff could approve those. And if there is a question, we can bring it to the Plan Commission for their review on that. It's just a little bit more efficient to do that. Otherwise, someone who wants to put up a sign has to wait until we get to a Plan Commission meeting. It just takes a little bit more time for that. And then we can just handle it a little bit quicker when they come in. It's pretty straightforward. We can't dictate, or we can't comment on content for those signs, so it just makes it pretty straightforward. I know a lot of other communities have gone to this staff review and approval if it's in compliance. I mean, basically, it's got to meet all the requirements of the code before we will issue a permit for that sign. It's not like we don't have the power as staff to waive anything in the code, so they'll have to meet the requirements no matter what. We did have a public hearing on that in front of the Plan Commission. There was no public comment at that time, and the Plan Commission passed the recommendation to approve this unanimously last week.
Any questions for Mr. Barbeau?
Is there a way to, I'm just thinking of my RACI chart, to make, like, at least town board members aware of signs that are approved through this process? Is there a way to just communicate that back to, could you figure out a way to do that somehow?
Under communications, we
Yeah,
can
if
do
there's
that.
a way to
We
just
can
say,
do that.
okay, like this week or last month, these signs were approved, so in case phone calls or people get, ask about signs and say, hey, what's up with the sign, was it approved, is it good? or is
We
it a
could just
problem?
draft a small staff report in the town board when we approve a sign. I mean, we don't approve signs, we don't approve 20 signs a year, so it shouldn't be a big deal.
And if they're approved, we don't have to bring it to the board to discuss, so it's just like an email.
Yeah, it's just
So-
communication.
Right, just communicate. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2023-06, an ordinance to repeal and recreate section 17.08, 7B of the town code concerning the procedure for the issuance of sign permits.
Second. Second.
I have a motion and a second to repeal and recreate section 17.08, 7B, sub B of the town code. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Announcements and planning items. The spring primary election is Tuesday, February 21st. The town board meeting of Tuesday, February 28th has been canceled due to a conflict. And the town board of Tuesday, March 14th is on schedule. That'll be the next time we get together. And there'll be a plan commission on Tuesday, March 21st at 6:30.
Just on that planning commission meeting on March 21st, we do need a quorum of the board. We have a conditional use request that just came in today.
So we'll need 2 other members there, because I believe Mr. Troy
I'm
will
out
not
of
be
the
present.
country,
So,
so.
Plan Commission, Tuesday, March 21st.
Third Tuesday.
I cannot attend. I have a work meeting
you can?
that
Okay,
I'm
awesome.
out of town for.
I can be there. Yep.
Well, you're there anyhow.
Yeah, I'll be there anyways.
So,
We didn't,
Do we need
we didn't presume.
two?
that-
You need 3, right?
We need 2 more.
Yeah.
he counts. Just,
Yeah.
so-
Okay.
Usually it's 1.
oh, you need a quorum, so, yeah.
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 So we'll have a quorum.
Okay.
And then that listening session in the town of Merton on the 22nd, 7 to 8. And then also, please try to block your calendars for the Towns Association Capital Day on Thursday, March 30th in Madison to talk to our legislators about our needs.
Sorry, what was that last one?
Thursday, March 30th, the Towns Association's having their Capital Day.
Oh, yep.
And then if there's nothing else, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion to adjourn and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for everyone for coming.
Yeah. All right, they're on the calendar.
Nothing the 28th.
February or March?
February.